was what the crossover study was, and I had forgotten actually what that phrase meant. I took a guess, which was correct, that it meant that you've got basically a baseline that you're working off of, and then you subject your experimental participants to something. In this case, it was secondhand smoke. In this case, it was secondhand smoke. Can you tell what the study was done?
Grease.
Somebody's got it.
Grease.
Greece. Look at those last names. Those vowels and S's. That's definitely not a Greece. So, secondhand smoke, you may have heard of this a lot, especially within the past 10 years. There's been a lot of secondhand smoke articles come out, especially not necessarily just secondhand smoke on adults, but secondhand smoke on children. And some of the studies, and some of them have been contradictory, have shown that secondhand smoke, not just exposure to someone smoking, but the exposure to the residuals on clothing. Is that third-hand smoke?
That's what they call it.
That's what the new. Okay, good. So that fact that it has a name, I'm guessing, also means that it's been shown. Some significance has been shown. But just if you smoke and wear the same clothing that you wore when you smoked, and then hold an infant, that can have a deleterious effect on their lung function. And the trick about this is what makes it bad. What makes it bad? So read on here. Okay, you've got. I got on the next slide. Let's take a look. Okay, here we go. So here's your crossover. You start with a baseline, Chris. There's your measurement you're working off of. Then from 0 to 1, we expose them to secondhand smoke. How did we do that? But how do we control that? Because there's different. I mean, having smokers smoke around is different. I mean, was it in a closed room? Was it outside? I mean, very often I ride my bike by people that are smoking, and I catch a whiff. I'm like, oh wow, and then I'm 10 feet by them by the time I process it. How was it done here? Non-smoking adults set at bar restaurant levels. Boom. What does that mean? Do you guys remember what Oregon used to be like up until about 2009?
Yeah.
You could smoke in bars. I played many a punk rock show, playing the drums at full volume for 3 hours, sucking down smoke. It would take days to get that back out of my lungs. It's crazy. Now, I think that was players. It's a different story. It's now the Blue Pine Tavern to serve frog legs. Totally different story. But, and I think that might be on the extreme case, but once you know, how do you think it was set up? What is a bar restaurant level? How do you think that was measured?
Well, like in Sherry's, they used to be able to smoke in the bar section of Sherry's.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure it dwindles around.
Well, that's what was always comical about a smoking and a non-smoking section. Like the smoke stays in one place. Well, you see what airports have done. Airports have solved this pretty cleverly. Salt Lake, I'm thinking of Salt Lake right now. They got those closed rooms, and some of those have open doors. This is what blows my mind. Not Salt Lake. Salt Lake, the door closes. But there are some airports I've been in where the door to the room actually is open. Like you just simply walk back in. Is Vegas like that? But the circulation is so good that it's keeping the smoke in the room.
It's like a wall of air that like.
Basically, yes. Like a pressure differential or something, yes? Very interesting, very interesting. But I guess what I'm getting at is here, somewhere between zero smoke in the air and that room in Vegas or Salt Lake City or Sherry's or Players is a bar restaurant level. I would question that immediately. What is a bar restaurant level, right? Will, you shrugged your shoulders when I said, what does that mean? You shrugged your shoulders. I do the same thing. I've read this study years ago, haven't read it since. But we decided on that level, and that's what we're going to test against. If I make that players level versus Sherry's level versus, say, somebody smoking outside of the campus center level, I might get different results in my study. The worse I make it, the more the effect I'm going to see, I think, on the person. So I guess before we take our break here, the one thing I want to make clear is we're going to get p-values. We're going to get p-values, and they're beautiful. They're beautiful. The trick with p-values is you got to make sure you look back at how they were determined, the curve that goes along with them, which we'll draw here momentarily. Okay? But take 5. Take 5. I just realized I forgot something up in the office. I got to run up and get.